Last week, Alien, Earth made its highly anticipated debut on FX and Hulu. How can you make a TV show that either doesn't just repeat the past or goes so far in the opposite direction that viewers are unhappy when it comes to a property that has been around for nearly 50 years? For Ridley Scott's Prometheus, the latter was unquestionably true. In order to answer that question, Hawley and colleagues gave us every possible practical consequence of xenomorph mayhem that we could possibly need, but they did so in a tale that was completely unlike from anything we had ever seen. Wendy, Sydney Chandler, a hybrid whose consciousness was transferred from a human kid into a synthetic adult body, and her Lost Boys counterparts are the main subjects of the first 2 episodes. Are dispatched to investigate the wreckage of the USCSS Maginot, a ship that crashes on Earth with deadly alien cargo, including a xenomorph. At the end of the 2nd episode, Wendy is reunited with her brother, Joe, Alex Lawther, who is still very human, but a xenomorph takes him in an attempt to create more like it, sending super-strength Wendy running after them. What will happen in Episode 3, Metamorphosis? Wendy is desperately looking for her brother, Joe, as the episode opens, scurrying amid the Maginot's rubble. The extraterrestrial specimens are being examined by Kirsh, Timothy Oliphant, and a few of the Lost Boys in the meantime.
Portrays these people, pre-61st Street selves in a quite cagey manner. Though they all pale in comparison to the interplay between Gladys and Bertha, our other significant families are meeting the past and the future. The parents of Dr. William Kirkland, the doctor who treated Peggy and developed a romantic relationship with her following the season premiere, were presented by the show last week. Elizabeth, Felicia Rashad, who is startlingly contemptuous of Arthur after learning that he was formerly a slave, is considerably more hospitable to the Scotts than his father, Frederick, Brian Stokes Mitchell. Although there isn't much more growth on this front yet, it is encouraging to see the Gilded Age provide its black protagonists the same freedom to examine their wealth hierarchy as its white counterparts. It's nice to see Peggy with a plot that isn't entirely terrible or horrifying, and the dynamics are complex. In the meantime, things are becoming a little crazy in the Forte/Van Ryn/Brooke household. Agnes is still grieving the loss of her great fortune, and Ada is grieving her late husband Luke by using a medium, played by, who else but Andrea Martin. Ada's coping mechanisms are certainly more entertaining to watch than Agnes, whose main characteristic is resistant to change. There appears to be an increasing number of women on the fringes of society with Agnes, Aurora Fane, and the soon-to-be sing Charlotte Astor, but it hasn't quite come together yet during the Bertha and Gladys show. Marion has also been spending a lot more time at the Russell residence, even becoming a bridesmaid in Gladys' wedding, but it was Larry's move rather than hers. When she appears wearing the outfit, she explains, "I just stood still while they made it fit," which seems about correct. Because of her family's downward mobility, Marion is also on Bertha's list of persons she doesn't want to marry, especially her son. It's ironic since her daughter was recently married off to a destitute duke. There is at least one individual who is obviously upwardly mobile, Jack Trotter, who with Larry's assistance. Russell recently made a cool $600,000 from the sale of his clock innovation, which he will divide between the two of them. According to Google, not the AI, Jack's portion is roughly $7.6 million in 2025 currency, so he won't have to work ever again if he so chooses and most definitely won't be a servant of anyone. The fact that he knows nothing and no one else makes it a bittersweet discovery. He and Larry will undoubtedly continue to be the greatest of friends, though, and it's a fantastic problem to have. The business narrative of George Russell seems to be repeated a lot.
He leaps from the Maginot as an egg starts to hatch after Morrow assures him that Yutani will never allow Prodigy to own anything on her ship. The cyborg is nowhere to be seen, but Wendy, Joe, and the severed xenomorph are returned, comatose, and receiving medical attention. All of the specimens on board, including Boy Kavalier, return home. The monster with acid blood within the egg had him giddy with anticipation. When he approaches too closely, Kirsh pushes his boss away and forces him to leave the room, despite the angry expression on his face. Following a warning that the extraterrestrial need a human host, Kavalier places Kirsh in control of the lab and excludes everyone who isn't synthetic. Adamines, Adrian Edmondson, Boy Cavalier's right-hand man, interrogate slightly and Smee regarding Morrow and his whispers to them. When is a machine not a machine? Reminds me a little. Ain't seems unconcerned, but Smee fears that Morrow will discover them and murder them. Morrow will be apprehended or killed before the day is up, and they are in a facility in the middle of the ocean. Kirsh is seen closely observing these two lost boys as the man departs. What's on his mind? Morrow, who is currently evading capture in New Siam, calls Yutani, Sandra E. Sensendiver, in the meantime. He informs her that the monsters have been found, but she still wants to know where they are. Prodigy took it. He refuses to return home, despite Yutani's wishes. He is going to retrieve the animals himself because they are his life's work. Meanwhile, Boy Kavalier is questioned by Curly, Irana James, one of the more intelligent lost boys, about Wendy being his favorite. Since she is the best, she believes it. When the first of the lost boys returns to the internet, Dame Sylvia is sleeping near Wendy's bed. She appears to be alright, but she is only human. Joe is in poor condition after having a lung removed during surgery. Joe survives his surgery and is sent to a pod to recuperate, but his internal organ is now sitting in a big liquid-filled container, prepared for an unknown event. Curly then records as Kirsh, Tootles, Kit Young, and Curly bring out an extraterrestrial egg for inspection. Kirsh begins chopping away at the shell, revealing the membrane beneath. Despite being far away, Wendy's extraordinary hearing allows her to hear the facehugger inside. Kirsh tears the facehugger from its shell, holds it down, and stuns it until it loses consciousness. Wendy observes Kirsh cutting at it from a window outside. As we observe a tadpole-sized xenomorph being taken out of the facehugger's insides, she enters the lab despite the unbearable sound of the eggs, approaching closer before collapsing. Kirsh carries Joe's lung to the container holding the infant xenomorph and inserts it in.